much for joining me, Ben. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah. I write a newsletter called If You Know, You Know. It is for creatives to learn about AI tools, AI happenings, news, and just generally how to have and live a more creative life. I have Ben Skinner here, who is the founder, creator of Magpie. Ben, can you introduce yourself and tell me why are we talking?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Sarah. My background's in tech. As you said, I've started a little startup called Magpie. My background is technical, but I've always loved the creative angle and working with creatives and designers and agencies and creating more of like the pipeline and the glue between them. And with kind of the advent of generative AI and a few kind of lurking ideas in the back of my mind, I kind of came up with this idea of Magpie. And yeah, love to
I
say more
have
about
to
it.
know, since I heard about this months ago, where does the name Magpie come from? Is there a story? I'm sure there is.
I've worked on a few like ideas in the past, and they all end up having bird names. I like magpies. Apparently there's a difference between the Australian magpie and the American magpie. Ours make a very lovely song, a bird song. So don't know. It was just that, and then I was like, what if I swap the IE for the AI? Because I hate search engine optimization. Why would I want to make it easy for people to find?
Never, never. I love it. No, thank you for sharing that. Is magpie your favorite bird?
I think it has to be now.
Yeah,
I
I think it
think,
has to be.
yeah, I don't know. There are some pretty cool birds. I think it probably subconsciously lines up with my superpower if I ever wanted one, which would be to fly. So,
That's mine
fun fact.
too. I think that'd be really fun.
It would be fun.
I would
It would
never
be
want to
fun.
read minds. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. People who are
No,
like,
no,
yeah, I
that's a
want you
can
to
of
read
worms.
minds. No,
No.
not worth it. Okay, well, we did some research. We have some questions. I mean, I asked you about, where Magpie came from, but tell me about Magpie, just like the 100,000 foot perspective, what Magpie does, who should be using it.
I mean, everyone should be using it. But yeah, from that high level, it helps individuals and businesses create dynamic, personalized content. I think in a world where there's a lot of very good manual tools like Photoshop, Figma, Canva, some design tools that really help focus on single outputs, single images and movie posters and things like that, there is space for a piece of software that helps those people scale and kind of work hand in hand with the new generative AI tools by kind of changing the paradigm and changing how people think about making software instead of manually clicking the buttons and doing all the steps. If we represent that visually and lay it out from kind of like in sequential order, it helps the people that have been using Magpie kind of go in and edit just what they need to edit. And funnily enough, it also kind of helps the AI side of things as well, because when you break things down into those small processes, you get a lot more stable and hallucination-free results, which is kind of a win-win.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds like
yeah,
you're taking the best of AI. And if people who are watching this are familiar with the company Zapier, is that what it is? Am I saying that correctly?
I
Like
think
AI
so.
meets Zapier, is Magpie.
Yeah,
Is that a good like analogy? Like, what's the best analogy
yeah.
there?
I have like a lot of metaphors depending on who I talk to. The original idea came from my background in visual effects and animation, and there's a piece of software called Houdini.
Mm,
And that was kind of born from how explosions and visual effects could be automated,
hmm
um, just to kind of deal with creative notes and the scale and kind of speed of films. This tool was born, and I was like, well, that's great, but you need a powerful computer, you need a high technical, education. What if there was just something easier and in the web browser? But yeah, most people are probably familiar with no-code tools like Zapier or even ChatGPT now, where you can kind of talk to it and get it to automate things for you. Magpie is kind of like that, but really focuses on the creative side and
hmm
allows you to kind of build up the visual story and the visual processes to make your kind of your content or templates.
We're hearing the origin story as we speak.
You are.
Speaking of origin story, I want to know who Ben Skinner was at 8 years old. Tell me a little bit about that kid, that little kiddo, and what are some of the things that you were doing at 8 or that age group? I'm not sure what levels of schooling you have in Australia, primary school, if that's what they call it.
We
What
have
were
that.
what were some of the things you were doing then that you see reflected in your day-to-day career and professional life now?
It's an interesting question. I was probably very dorky, very shy. Um, I remember distinctly getting like a assignment to make a poem, and this will show my age, but there was a PowerPoint presentation attached to it. And so I remember going in and trying every single transition on each slide, and then going to every single button and seeing how all things all worked. And I think by the end of it, it was some weird convoluted PowerPoint with hyperlinks jumping around. I don't know how good the poem actually was, but
No rhyming in there whatsoever.
probably not. It could have used ChatGPT.
Or the longest haiku of all time.
Yeah. But that kind of started the journey, and the next step was learning like HTML. But I was too young. This was kind of like year 2, I think, which probably is similar to the American schooling system.
Mm-hmm.
But I was too young, so my mum actually went to a local library and took notes, learned how to make like a HTML web page, brought home the notes, and yeah, I think by the time I read them through, I probably knew more than she did.
Did you ever make a MySpace layout?
No, again, showing my age, MySpace was like a touch before me, but I remember Tumblr, made a few Tumblr templates.
There it is.
And then I got straight into WordPress blogs. I think I have a few of them kicking around the internet somewhere.
Oh, I won't ask about that. What is your favorite feature on Magpie? And give me one technical fact that you love bragging about when it comes to Magpie.
Good question. I think, frankly, it's still quite young, so some of the big technical pieces are still kind of yet to be implemented. I think I've just done quite a big refactor and cleanup of the code base, which will kind of be coming out at the end of this month, which also allows people to run it locally on their computer with no cloud at all. And in the process of doing that, quite happy with how the structure of the nodes and the workflows came together. Yeah, that's probably the technical piece. Yeah.
Okay. And what about your favorite feature? Because I know mine. Should I share it?
Oh, yeah, you should.
Hopefully this video will be on YouTube. Hopefully I'll be making more content. But there's this really cool thing where you have an image of yourself, and then say if I want to do a podcast about coffee, you can upload like images of coffee and then maybe images of like a kiwi bird. And then it's like, oh, is Sarah talking about Kiwi, Australian, New Zealand coffee? Maybe, who knows? Let's click on this thumbnail, and it like automatically makes a thumbnail for YouTube or whatever type of content you're making. I think that's really cool.
I think mine would be similar. I think I like that you can build like almost like a package or a bundle of assets ready to be kind of delivered for yourself, for your podcast, or for clients and other kind of agency workflows. So it's kind of cool that one workflow can spit out, the Instagram story, the Instagram grid, a video, a PDF, and you can kind of tailor it to what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the YouTube thumbnail is one of the most fun templates to play around with. That and putting yourself on the cover of Time magazine. It's
who needs Taylor Swift when you have Ben Skinner?
Exactly. There's room for us both.
What
I would never want to compete with Taylor.
None of us do. Ben, where can we find you? Brag about yourself. Are you going to be anywhere cool coming up? Yes.
That's a good question. Unfortunately, probably not cool. I'm in the middle of Australian summer. But yeah, you can find Magpie at magpie.app, spelt AI instead of IE.
Actually, will you just say how you spell Magpie right here? That'd be really helpful.
Magpai.
.app.
.app.
Cool.
And also, unhelpfully, I go by Voxel on social media, but that's also spelt wrong. That's VOCHSEL, because the original one was taken.
Great. Can't wait to figure out how to spell that. And I don't even know what voxel is. Is that like another animal reference? That sounds like a Norwegian fox.
No, it does. It does sound like that. No, it's a 3D pixel. So if you've got like a pixel, which is X and Y with red, green, and blue, this is kind of like another dimension. So used in the 3D and graphics industry. Very nerdy, and also taken by another Australian, apparently. So I took some creative liberties.
Hey, as one does. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, Ben. I really appreciate your insights. I'm sure this will not be the last time that we hear from you or that we chat. But again, if any last words you want to finish on, hopes and dreams, things that you're excited about, a cool headline that you saw this week, Any finishing thoughts, if we call it a swing thought, if you will?
No, nothing that wouldn't open up a can of worms. I think in general, thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of the newsletter. I'm excited to see how you grow as well with the If You Know, You Know brand. But no, I think it's an exciting time. I would just, yeah, it's very easy to get kind of distracted and a little sad by all the headlines of AI and automation. But I really do think there's a path forward where humans stay in control and yeah, we all get to live happy lives.
Wow, that is
That's the
definitely a
dream.
can of worms. But we will end on
Magpie is
that.
making world peace, essentially. Yeah.
Amazing. Ben Skinner, thank you so much for chatting, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. See ya.
Okay.